British and European leadership in politics, science, and business would be in ruins. Through a major shift in the empires of the world, the United States would become the dominant superpower, locked with the Soviet Union in a tense Cold War embrace. As these new realities took hold, California would establish itself as a leading center of high-tech defense industries and an academic leader in the physical sciences. Large changes, indeed. Still larger, and only today becoming fully obvious, would be the changes that flowed from the silicon transistor and the call to Moore. Those changes have revolutionized our lives, and continue to do so in accelerating fashion. On that cold February evening in 1956, listening to Bill Shockley's pitch, Gordon Moore had little clue how fateful the moment was, but he and Betty saw clearly enough how important it could be for their own immediate future. Within 3 months, he was working for Shockley. 18 months on from the phone call, undaunted by Shockley's Nobel Prize, he would lead a revolt against his boss, and with 7 colleagues, the traitorous 8, form Fairchild Semiconductor, the breakaway startup, in what, as a direct result of their action, became Silicon Valley. Tom Wolfe would later remark, "Brain power was the entire franchise. On that day was born the concept that would make the semiconductor business as wild as show business, defection capital." The 8, betting their future on the silicon transistor, quickly made good on their wager. They delivered their first 100 transistors to International Business Machines, IBM, in August 1958, at the handsome price of $150 each. Within 2 years, Moore and his colleagues had made their initial fortunes. Their company would go on to spawn more than 400 spin-offs, the most successful of which, Intel, was co-founded by Moore himself. At Fairchild, a team in Gordon Moore's laboratory created a remarkable invention, the silicon integrated circuit, otherwise known as the microchip. This was an entire electronic circuit built from a host of transistors chemically printed onto a single sliver of silicon. In the microchip, Gordon Moore glimpsed an astonishing future. Trained as an experimental chemist, he first observed, and then through his work, fulfilled his prophecy for silicon transistors within these microchips, that they would double and redouble relentlessly, with ever-increasing use in an ever-proliferating array of products, even as their cost tumbled across the decades. This repeated doubling with plummeting price is known as Moore's Law. Moore's own deeper claim, arising as the clamor of the 60s subsided, was nothing if not bold. "We are bringing about the next great revolution in the history of mankind, the transition to the electronic age." At the time, hardly anyone took notice. Nevertheless, Intel would become the world's preeminent semiconductor manufacturer, as Moore, its chief strategist and largest shareholder, moved from research and development, R&D head, to longest-serving chief executive officer, CEO, board chair, and finally, chair emeritus. By 1997, when he stepped down as board chair, Intel was in the top 50 companies of the Fortune 500, Silicon Valley was the place to be, the electronic revolution was increasingly visible, and Moore himself, its theorist, quiet architect, and key facilitator, was closing in on a wealth comfortably in excess of $20 billion. Turning to become a major philanthropist, he would set records for the largest gifts ever made to conservation and to higher education. Gordon Moore transformed not only his own realities, but also those of his region, to say nothing of the global domains of research and business, the conduct of warfare, and the patterns of everyday experience. The transistor has gone from a rare, exotic item of military hardware to the one essential ingredient in modern life. It underlies the electronic age and virtual reality, the realms of Twitter, Google, Facebook, and Amazon, of drones, government surveillance, big data, the cloud, and high-speed trading, of personal computers, internet